in Houston. It's a bark in the park day at Minute Maid. The Rays and the Astros wrapping up this series, concluding this 3-game series and the season series. Rays have dropped the first 2 games, trying to get out of town with a victory and head up to Boston for the backside of this road trip before the Rays get back home. And here will be the way they are lined up today for the Rays, presented by your Southern Ford dealers. Corey Dickerson leads it off, followed by Kevin Kiermaier and Evan Longoria. Brad Miller hits cleanup in front of Matt Duffy, and then Nick Franklin in the lineup hitting 6th, playing second base. Steven Souza Jr. in right. Tim Beckham will be at third base, hitting 8th, and behind the plate, Luke Maile in the 9th spot.
Well, taking the mound this afternoon for the Houston Astros, right-hander Doug Fister. He's making his 26th start of the season and coming off one of his better ones of the 2016 campaign. His last start was against the Pirates in Pittsburgh, went 7 shutout innings, giving up just 3 hits while striking out 6 and picking up his 12th win. Let's take a look at the Astro defense and see how it's going to line up. Brought to you by Gold and Diamond Source. And in that outfield left to right, we have Marwin Gonzalez, Jake Marisnik, and George Springer. Across the infield, third to first, Alex Bregman, Carlos Correa, Jose Altuve, and A.J. Reed, with Jason Castro behind the plate.
Corey Dickerson gets the call as the leadoff man for the Rays against the Houston right-hander. Dickerson had a hit last night and 3 two-base hits in the first game of this series here on Friday. And so Kevin Cash has him up in the leadoff spot today. First pitch of this game is down and away for a ball. So we are underway. Logan Forsythe getting the day off. And so Dickerson goes into the leadoff spot. Now to play, and the count is 1-1. First time that Dickerson has hit leadoff for the Rays this year. The pitch is a strike on the inside part of the plate. 1-2.
Well, for Doug Fister, that's what he needs to do. 6 feet 8 inches tall. He's a guy that will move the ball around the zone, working downhill. But he is not overpowering, so he needs to be fine with the command.
Into left field, Gonzalez back. That ball at the track, and he makes the catch just in front of the scoreboard out there. So Dickerson going the other way is the first out.
Yeah, we've seen Corey Dickerson, and he's hot right now. That's why he's in the leadoff spot, but been able to get the ball that's up in the zone and get it out there. Look at Marwin Gonzalez putting his hands right through the wall out there, knocking some of those panels loose.
Yeah, he's trying to change the progress of that Atlanta-San Francisco game, and apparently hasn't even started yet. There's a foul ball by Kevin Kiermaier out of play. Banged up his hand a little bit out there, changing the scoreboard.
Well, we've seen this before.
Fly ball center field. Marisnik out there waiting for this one to come down, 2 away.
But how about Marwin Gonzalez going to start the first 2 games of the series at first base and then pop out to left field? That's something that's new to this game. You just didn't see that before. Guys making that kind of a move, you know, first base to third base, first base to DH, but certainly not first base to left field.
Yeah, there have been utility players before, and the Rays with the Ben Zobrist acquisition and development really in a significant way pioneered that, you would have to think. And every club now, it seems, tries to be as versatile as it can be. There's a strike to Longoria, who's quickly behind 0-2. Evan, the DH, carries his 30 home runs into this game on a pace to hit 38 for the year. 1-2. Brad Miller playing first base, back at first today, hitting cleanup in the on-deck circle. It's a foul ball outside of third. Longoria strikes out. 1, 2, 3, go the Rays. We head into the bottom of the first. No score. From Houston, wrap-up game of the series. The lineup for the Astros presented by your Southern Ford dealers. George Springer leads it off, then Alex Bregman and Jose Altuve. Carlos Correa hits cleanup in front of Yuli Gurriel. Marwin Gonzalez is at left, A.J. Reed at first, Jason Castro behind the plate. Jake Marisnick will be in center, and he will hit ninth.
Well, Chris Archer on the mound this afternoon for the Rays, making his 28th start of the season. And this is going to be a power-on-power matchup. Young team, big swing. Archer, obviously, with the great stuff.
And there's the first pitch from Archer in there for a strike. George Springer has struck out 131 times this year. Archer leading the American League with 192 strikeouts and a ground ball to short. Duffy's throw is there. One away.
Let's take a look at the Rays defense. See how that's going to line up here this afternoon. Brought to you by Gold and Diamond Source. And in the outfield left and right, we have Corey Dickerson, Kevin Kiermaier, and Steven Souza Jr. Across that infield third to first, Tim Beckham, Matt Duffy, Mick Franklin, and Brad Miller with Luke Bailey behind the plate.
Alex Bregman, the impressive young infielder, playing third base. It's a foul ball, hit it in the direction of Altuve on deck. Bregman homered his second time up last night at a fastball out. A two-run home run to left. Connecting off Blake Snell. A ball and a strike. As we mentioned in the open, Archer, two pretty good games back to back against the Padres and the Red Sox. He beat San Diego and lost to Boston. A 1-2 count.
Yeah, that Boston game, that lineup, ran his pitch count up 5 innings, gave up 2 runs, only 1 earned.
Ground ball, and that's grabbed by Duffy, turns and throws in time to get Bregman. So the first two hitters handled by Duffy out there at shortstop.
That ball is sharply hit, but how about Duffy to his glove side, now turn, realizes he's got just a little bit more time because of how quickly that ball got out to him, set himself, and made the nice throw for the second out.
And here is Jose Altuve. Well, what a season he has had. Tops in hitting. All across the board. If he's not leading the league or the majors, he's close to it. Take a look at that American League batting race. 356. Pedroia, Betts, and Escobar each at 320.
And here's the deal. He had a 40-point lead when this series started. And it's taken Dustin Pedroia to go 12 out of 13 to get it down to 36.
Yeah, how about that run by Pedroia?
Wow.
Popper right side. That's going to carry out of play. Well, you look at Altuve. He's stronger than ever and more disciplined than ever. And his approach at the plate is more versatile than ever. He's trying to cover every element of the game.
And he cleaned himself up a little bit mechanically to where he doesn't cut himself off as much, that's the increase in power. You see that, the fact that he's able to hit the ball out to right field. They said that 5 out of his 20 home runs have gone to right field, where he had 1 in his career coming into this season.
He lays off that pitch, and it's 2-2.
That's why the year has been so impressive. The numbers are gaudy, there's no question about it, but what he's done in the power department, obviously has allowed the Astros now to move him down into the 3-hole, just like, the Red Sox did with Mookie Betts.
Now full count. A couple of ground ball outs. Archer got ahead. Now 3-2 here to Altuve. They're cut to miss. Out on strikes. Just a slider there, and we go to the second. No score. Coming in to hit. Brad Miller, Matt Duffy, and Nick Franklin due up against Doug Fister. Pitch is down. Fister coming off a win his last time against Pittsburgh, and generally around the plate. There's a strike, 1-1. His numbers, normally speaking, pretty much in order. Not the kind of guy who will make a lot of mistakes out there. He's not overpowering, but you have to go out and beat him.
Yeah, and that's the way that he's going to pitch. He can't afford to make a ton of mistakes. Can't afford to have extra base runners. So the one thing that he does have is he's another guy that has that pitchability, understands what a hitter's trying to do, can make adjustments, and move the ball around the strike zone.
Well, you see there that pitch up at 88, and that's about where he is. I mean, he's not going to go 90 and mid-90s. He's going to pitch 88, 89. Ground ball right side. Altuve takes care of that.
The one thing that he's able to do with that 87, 88, he can get some good movement on it. You know, we saw it on the, the second pitch, I think it was, to Brad Miller, kind of a front door sinker that got the inner half. We saw it on the strike 3 pitch to Evan Longoria, driving that ball down and in, that fastball with good sink that he swung over the top of. Able to create angles because of his size.
Duffy going after a fastball, fouling it away. A 2-strike count to Duffy. A 1-2 count. Pitch in on Duffy. He fights it off in there, fouls it. Mr. 32 years old. 2 years ago with Washington, he was a 16-game winner. Ground ball up the middle, and there's a base hit into center for Duffy. Duffy, after going hitless last night, singles his first time up in this game.
Well, Fister going for that outside corner with the fastball, and it was up just enough that Matt Duffy, good 2-strike, go right back up the middle, hit that ball on the ground hard.
Well, Nick Franklin off the concussion list. He pinch hit last night and struck out in the lineup at second base today. Right there, Franklin takes it.
That's the pitch he was talking about with Brad Miller. That's that 2-seamer that he starts, on the inside corner, maybe just a little bit off. The hitter gives up on it, and look at that. That's had sinking action right back to the middle of the plate.
A little roller through the right side. That's going to get through. Duffy's going to head to third, and it will be first and third. No play over there on Duffy. Well, Franklin just got enough to roll it in the right spot through the right side of the infield.
Well, this is a curveball here that he's going to roll over, and A.J. Reed coming off of first base right there, just not able to get to it. Has the advantage of being left-handed, but that ball just enough away from him. Gets into shallow right, and the Rays have a little something working here.
Steven Souza Jr. base hit in the game last night, 1 for 4. And a chance to put the Rays on top early. Takes a pitch at the knees. And that's the other thing hitters have to be aware of. Fister can roll up some ground balls. He has thrown 18 double plays this year.
That's the angle. That's that 6'8" coming downhill at you. Like that right there. When you have a pitch like that, even if it's up a little bit more than that, tough to elevate, tough to get underneath that ball because it's coming from such an acute angle. 6 feet 8 inch tall pitcher on top of the mound, coming from close to over the top.
Ball thrown into the dirt. Castro, good stop on that one.
And that's why you got to tell yourself as a hitter, especially in a situation like this, you want to be aggressive, but you also want to see the ball up in the zone. Force him to come up in the zone so that you can get something airborne.
Franklin breaks off first, a tap to third. Bregman will take the play to first. Out there, a close play. The Rays get a run as Duffy scores. Franklin advances to second. And Souza hanging around at first to see if the Rays want to explore this call a little more.
Oh, it was a nice job by Bregman to get there, a nice throw. Boy, that is awfully close. Awfully close. Oof, oof, oof. That's a tough call right there.
It is indeed. That's about as close. I'm glad they're calling that and not us. That is a difficult call to make in live action, and even difficult to decipher it when you look at the replay. And the Rays taking some time here. Kevin Cash waiting to get a little more information that might be definitive in one way or another, and it's going to be too close, and the Rays are not going to challenge this.
And I think that shot right there, the ball into the back of the glove of A.J. Reed right there, and the foot, where are you going to find something definitive? And you don't want to lose that challenge this early on a play that you're probably not going to get overturned anyway. I think that turned out to be the right call.
The Rays got the run out of that ground ball. It's Tim Beckham. Pitches down. The Buick GMC big matchup. Beckham now with a 7-game hitting streak. 10 out of 24 for the life of that streak. Cutting a miss. 1-1. Beckham had 3 hits last night. Single, double, single. With a strike at the knees, 1-2. He did make a major mistake running the bases last night in the 6th inning. And the Rays and Kevin Cash not altogether happy about that. Duffy has scored. Franklin's at second. 2 outs, 1-2 the count on Beckham. That was very close, but just off the plate. Boy, that's a tough pitch to take. 2-2.
He's trying to start that pitch off the plate, take that sink right back to the outside corner. I think Tim Beckham says, you know what, there's nothing I can do about it, so I hope it turns out to be a ball.
The ground ball left side, cutting across to his left. Bregman makes the pick up and throw, and the Rays got 1 run on 2 hits, leaving 1-0 Tampa Bay. Today's Geico great moment, Chris Archer in his last start in Houston. Memorable indeed. Tossing a 1-hit shutout, striking out 11 and making only 98 pitches in that shutout. Colby Rasmus picked up the only hit.
Saw Colby Rasmus in the dugout last night. Can't miss that.
The ground ball down to first by Carlos Correa, and Miller takes care of that.
And wait for it. You can see the hair. There he is. He never disappoints, whether it's the beard, the hair. He's always has something going on. And well, there you go.
Yeah, he's been on the disabled list for the better part of August with a cyst in his right ear.
I got an uncle that can take care of that. Jimmy Merle.
Pitch to Gurriel is high. 1 ball, no strikes. I'm not exactly sure what the treatment is for that, but it has kept him out for almost the entire month.
Yeah, it's a kind of a backwoods type of treatment. Probably not appropriate for Colby Rasmus being the professional that he is. But it's just a thought. Things aren't working out.
And the slider taken for a strike. It's now 2-2. Foul ball. The count holds right there. High pop foul down the left side, out of play, back into the stands. Souvenir there, you see. It's the dog's excited about that souvenir.
Another dog day.
Yeah.
This is our second of the season, maybe
well,
third.
It is August.
Yeah, how appropriate.
And a cut and a foul-tipped strikeout. Second strikeout for Archer.
Boy, it is so tough for hitters to lay off these pitches that are up close to their eyes, and when they're at this kind of velocity at 96, that's about the best you can do right there on that one. Just to be able to get a small little piece of it and foul that pitch off. Unfortunately for Gurriel, is right into the glove of Luke Maile.
There's Marwin Gonzalez playing left field today, hitting 6th. It's in there for a strike. Pitch disappeared on him. He saw it, and then it broke down and in. A 2-strike count.
When you take swings that big, you're susceptible to that. That's something that Chris Archer has a chance to take advantage of. You know, that's why he's had the run of success that he has had against this team, because they're young, they swing big, and they don't change their approach.
Out to shortstop. Duffy's got that one, and it's a 1-2-3 inning. 6 in a row retired here to begin this one for Archer. 1-0 Rays.
So good for Chris Archer. It is. We head to the third with Luke Maile leading off. It'll be Maile, then back to the top of the order. Rays will wrap up this series against the Houston Astros and take on the Boston Red Sox for 3 beginning tomorrow, as Doug Fister delivers the first pitch of the third inning. And in our greater coverage of baseball, brought to you by T-Mobile. Guys, how about Dustin Pedroia? Had that streak snap last night at 11 consecutive hits, 1 hit shy of tying a Major League Baseball record, which had been set 3 times, the last time 64 years ago. Red Sox will wrap up their series with the Royals tonight with a night game. But Pedroia, guys, since moving up to the leadoff spot, 33 for 72, 458. Back to you.
All right, yeah, that feat, as you can see there, 3 other times, and one of our favorite players, Pinky Higgins, did it. And I know that I beat BA to the punch there, because he's always has been a fan of Pinky Higgins.
I was. That wasn't my focus during that particular hit. So I didn't see Pinky, Higgins on there.
Right there.
Happy Felsh. You've had a couple of good ones. And I was more worried. I was trying to figure out what inning it was. Well,
Todd would remind us.
It was the third.
Yeah. Out of play. So the count on Luke Maile is 2-2. Doug Fister on the hill. Bailey comes in hitting .229. We've seen Bobby Wilson in the first 2 games of this series. Bailey getting the start today. He drives it deep into right center field. Marisnick cutting across, makes the catch on the run on the warning track. We saw him make a great catch here the other night, and this one covering a lot of ground out there to get that one.
You know, because of 436 in center field, right center gets pretty big out there, and Maile drives this ball with some authority. But look at Marisnick. I mean, he gets a great jump and a very good route to that baseball to cut it off.
And he's the kind of outfielder you need here in center field because it's so cozy down the left field line, just 315. If you're a pitcher, you want to pitch to the big part of the ballpark. Well, that's great if you have a guy who can cover it, and
right.
he can. If you don't have a guy, then that's another story. So the Astros, since moving into this park, have always attempted to have somebody out there in center who can cover ground, and boy, they have one now. Breaking pitch in there to Dickerson. Curveball makes it 1-1. One to count. Down to one knee after that one. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Count is full on Dickerson. Kevin Kiermaier will be next. There's a line foul into the seats. Rays got a run in the 2nd inning, driven home on a ground ball by Steven Souza Jr. Just outside of 3rd. Dickerson getting his first start in the leadoff role.
You wonder if that's one of those things that Kevin Cash told him last night. Hey, by the way, be ready. Or you come to the ballpark, look for your name where it normally is. Got to go up a ways and find it in that leadoff spot.
Long way to the opposite field. Gonzalez back. He's going to play it off the scoreboard. Bounds beyond him. Marisnick over there to pick it up. It's a double for Dickerson. Well, Dickerson had a big night with the 2-base hit on Friday, picking up 3 of them. And that's his 27th double of the year.
He gets the breaking ball, and look how he stays on it. Down and away. Follow it down, and then that high finish. Just about got this ball out of the ballpark. Got that short wall out in left field, hits off that scoreboard, bounces over the head of Gonzalez. An odd bounce. Another chance for the Rays.
Kevin Kiermaier. Pitch is wide. Slow breaking ball there.
Second time through the lineup, and Doug Fister all of a sudden with something new, trying to introduce another pitch.
Two balls, no strikes. In with the knees. Counts now 2-2 with that foul ball out of play. Pfister 2-4 in his career against the Rays. That covers 7 appearances, 6 starts. And you can tack this one onto that now. 7 career starts against Tampa Bay. Rays trying to add to this 1-0 lead. Shoots that inside part of the plate, misses. Pitch up, foul back. It's popped up. Is it playable? Castro after it near the dugout, reaches in and makes the catch. That's quite a play. Castro after it from the get-go there and right to the dugout railing.
Boy, he had to track that ball, reach over the railing, make that catch, and avoid having the impact jar the ball loose. This is as good as it gets. Took one last peek, finds the baseball and basket catch over that railing. There was one last look. Wanted to make sure he knew when he was going to make contact with that low little railing right there. And made a nice play.
Two outs with Dickerson at second. Longoria chases a pitch. Strike one. That's something we have not seen him do a lot of this year.
No, things have slowed down just a little bit for Evan here in the last few games, and certainly expanded the zone there.
There's a shot, well tagged, left center field. That's going to be off the bottom of the wall. Dickerson scores. It's a double for Longoria. His 34th double gives him 80 runs batted in, and the Rays have a 2-0 lead.
Well, you can understand Doug Fister's thought process. Slider well off the plate for strike one, so now I'm going to come in, but you've got to get it in there. I think you got a hitter leaning out over the plate, but that fastball middle end, and Evan Longoria, you're leaving pitches out over the plate, and he's hitting them hard, and the Rays extend that lead.
Well, Brad Miller back in the lineup today, and he takes that soft pitch, the breaking ball, for a strike. Miller lifts one into left center. Marisnick back in front of the fence and has room to make the catch. Rays get a run on 2 hits and lead 2-0. Headed into the bottom of the third. For every strikeout Chris Archer records, $25 donated by the Rays. 10 News WTSP and Chris, benefiting Berg Baseball and RBI Baseball of Tampa. Make your pledge by going to raysbaseball.com/Archer. A.J. Reed leads it off. Archer's retired the first 6 to face him. Big left-handed hitting first baseman takes the pitch for a strike. Reed 178 with 3 home runs. He's been in 35 games for Houston. Down in the count 0-2.
A little bit tardy on that swing. That fastball up in the zone at 94. And Chris Archer here has set himself up for another strikeout. It's something that can ring up an awful lot, leads the league.
The ball, 2 strikes. Two. Well, Archer right now with the 2 strikeouts has 194 on the year. So that's tops in the league. And there's a strike call. So Reed caught looking. First out in the third. And the first out here, 195 strikeouts, leading the American League and also leading the major leagues in losses with 17. Nolan Ryan with the Angels in 76 lost 18, but also won 17 and had a 3.36 ERA. And look at his strikeout total and complete games.
That's a different level. That's just a completely different level.
Castro takes a strike. Nolan's number 34 up here. Yeah, you look at the workload of his career, and it's astonishing. Jason Castro with a strike. 1-1. Lifted toward the line and left. Dickerson, will he have room? He will. A fair ball, and he makes the catch. Well, you go down to that corner, and that foul line gets awfully close to the stands. Not a lot of foul territory. And that one fair. Castro's the second out.
There's an awful lot to think about on those balls down into the corner, especially when you're running a long way trying to make a catch. You're right. It could be a fair ball, and then in another, half a step, you're eating that wall over there. That's just a couple feet outside the line. You've got the corner to deal with. Even that ball, can be tricky. We saw what Teoscar Hernandez in the game last night, expecting a ball to come high off that wall, and here it missed the wall completely and just fell in.
And part of the design of this ballpark was to have just those difficulties out there to make it unique. It's a kind of a throwback to that whole scoreboard. That can present an issue a lot like it does at Fenway at times.
If you're standing at home plate and you look at that left field wall, you can go around the corner.
Yes.
You could hide your left fielder. You wouldn't see him from home plate.
A wave and a miss by Marisnik.
You think that you have a guy set up for a strikeout if you get a swing like that on that slider?
You would think.
I mean, that was missed by feet, many feet.
And he comes in and hits him. First base runner for Houston. Marisnick hit by the pitch.
Just tried to overthrow that pitch way up and in right off the elbow of Marisnick, and you completely let him off the hook there.
You know, Marisnick homered his first time up here Friday night and then struck out 6 times in a row and was all set to do it again, and he's hit by a pitch. Ground ball. Duffy with the toss to second. Springer hits into the fielder's choice. We're through 3, and the Rays lead this game 2-0. Begin to hit in the 4th inning. Follow Rays Baseball live with the MLB.com at-bat app. Stay up to the moment at any moment with Game Day. Live game video highlights, StatCast, news, and more. Download MLB.com at-bat, the #1 app for live baseball on your phone and tablet. First pitch into Matt Duffy is a strike called. Him down in the count. That slow. You talk about slowing down a breaking ball. He can't.
Yeah, I mean, you saw Duffy try to follow that pitch down, take that swing. That was at 69 miles an hour.
A ball, 2 strikes. Foul out of play. Duffy, Franklin, then Souza Jr. Runs batted in for the Rays tonight, or this afternoon, coming from Souza Jr. and Evan Longoria. Evan in the DH role. Shot the other way into right. Springer to his left makes the catch. So Duffy lines to right. Now Nick Franklin. Nick got one through the right side his first time, and that moves his average up over 290.
Man, it was a slow start for Nick Franklin, and then all of a sudden got onto a little bit of a roll, ended up going back to Durham, and at that point you said, you know, he looked like a different player. at that point. More comfortable, more confident, and then since coming back, same thing. Swinging the bat well. Had the little hiccup with the concussion issue. And now back and getting some regular playing time.
Liner toward right. That's going to fall in front of Springer. And there's another hit for Franklin. He is 2 for 2.
You know, he's staying disciplined at the plate, and he's not trying to do too much. You know, that was an off-speed pitch. He kind of lengthened his swing, kind of slowed things down, stayed smooth, and just popped that ball out there. There it is. Change up. Look at him. Just lengthen it out there, head down.
You know, we've talked about other players who've come and gotten to the point where they feel as if they belong here. And there were times before when it appeared that he was a bit overwhelmed by the experience. But recently, seeing Nick Franklin, you get the idea that he's satisfied that he belongs here and plays accordingly. Now, he's been a confident player.
And he's got a chance to be one of those super utility guys. You know, everybody here, you know, outside of a couple of guys that are absolutely woven into the fabric of this team, they're not going to go anywhere and their jobs are set. There are plenty of other jobs that are wide open, and these are all auditions. And Nick Franklin, you think about him in that super utility role, outfield, infield, switch hit, you know, he can do a lot of different things for you. And you're right, he's playing at a high level of confidence right now. Like he plans on seizing that job.
A 2-0 count to Steven Souza Jr. Breaks his bat and pops it up. And now Souza not running it out and just did get down there on that little popper. You can see Altuve playing it on a short hop and that quick toss to second to get the force on Franklin. And then Souza all of a sudden has to bust it to get to first.
You know what? Regardless of Souza Jr. being safe, as you see him stop right there, he realized at that point what Altuve was going to do. You know, Kevin Cash, who's had issues with this team in their base running, even though he beats this out, the fact that it was even a play and it was even close, I can't imagine he's real happy about that either.
Well, he saw some poor base running by Tim Beckham last night. This one with Souza Jr., you're right, will not make him happy. And we've seen some other cases of that. Strike to Beckham.
You know, if Altuve would have just stood there and even faked, like with his glove up, for a half second longer, he would have gotten that play. Because it was early where he had his hands down that Souza Jr. felt something amiss, and he picked it up at that point and was able to beat it out. But he almost got baited into a double play ball, and that would have really made Kevin Cash mad. Bad enough already, I'm sure.
Into the dirt. Souza back in. Ball bounding away. Souza's going to move up to second base. Wild pitch allows him to move up. You know, you think about where this club is now and what the last couple months of the season have turned into, and really it's an audition for positions next year. You know, they got into August realizing they need to shuffle the deck and take a look and evaluate with an eye toward next year. It's now 3-1, and to see some of the mistakes that we've seen, judgment, effort, so forth, that's how it will impact the individuals involved.
And the one that fries me, you know, is the effort one. You know, I mean, judgment, you can work on that, decision making, all of that stuff. Some guys are going to have better judgment than others, a better feel for the game, you know. But effort is something that doesn't need to be coached.
Yep.
It's effort. Try. That's it. Lay it out there. You know what I mean? It's not that hard, and it takes no talent level whatsoever to give effort. So the lack of effort on different plays would be the one that would send me to the moon, and it does anyway. And I'm not even in Kevin Cash's position.
3-2 here to Beckham. And he fouls that one. And down he goes. Well, the club's 54 and 74. Nobody's happy about that. But because of where this team is and where it wants to go and how they want to utilize the last 2 months of the season, one could rationally assume that that would be great incentive to show people what you can do and how you want to play the game, and you want to be part of turning the situation from a negative into a positive with an eye toward next year. That should be the incentive in and of itself. It's just self-explanatory.
Yeah, there's no.
Where do you go?
Apart. Set yourself apart.
Yep. Ground ball down to third. It gets beneath Bregman and into left. Here comes Souza trying to score, and the throw is going to be a little late. There'll be a little argument at the plate here, and there was a little mix-up down around third on the bases with Souza headed from second to third, and then eventually third to home. And I think what we're seeing is Charlie Montoyo already talking with Kerwin Danley at third about that. And you've got A.J. Hinch out talking with Nick Lentz, the plate umpire. And now Danley has joined that conversation. Let's take a look here. Right there. So a safe call at the plate to make it a 3-0 game. And this crew, Joe West, who is the crew chief, about to join the conversation here with Lentz and Danley and Hinch. Joe, just an interesting bystander right now.
Yeah, see, as he charges and misses that ball, it takes him right into the path of Souza Jr., who then runs into him, and that's what they're talking about.
West End explaining this situation. So Beckham winds up at second base. The Rays get a run out of that. And it's a 3-0 ball game. So the Rays with a run in the second, another one in the third, and one here in the fourth inning. And a couple of errors charged on that play. Luke Maile now swings and misses for a strike.
You know, and we saw that last night too with Alex Bregman. You know, this is a guy drafted last year, second overall pick out of LSU. Had some defensive issues in the game last night. Missed that ground ball right there. Just missed it.
This one down toward the corner. The ball is going to be fair to the bottom of the scoreboard. Beckham will score. Maile in at second, stays on the bag with a 2-base hit, and now the Rays have a 4-0 lead. So Maile takes it toward the left field corner. for his 5th double of the year.
This is one of the things that has plagued Doug Fister when he has struggled. It's a lot of extra base hits. That's at least number 3. There's just a hanger there in the middle of the plate. And Luke Maile with some lift and some carry, not able to get it out. Actually dropped that ball right onto the warning track.
Here's Dickerson. Swinging at that ball, popping loose, and Maile is going to be caught between second and third on the recovery by Castro. And now he is out. Bregman eventually tags him out, and the Rays will settle for 2 runs in the 4th, with Maile caught off second. Rays get 2 runs, and boy, sorting through that is a challenge. It ended when Luke Maile was caught off second base on a pitch that was thrown into the dirt, and eventually he was out. Castro, Correa to Bregman. And this play, on the heels of the double error, allowing the Rays to get the first run of the inning. It's a little uneven here in the 4th inning. First pitch to Bregman leading off the bottom of the inning. Here's a ball, 1-0. And that ball that Beckham hit to third, he reached on an error. Here's that Souza play where Beckham reached on an error, and then Souza and Bregman making contact. There was an interference call and another error assessed to Bregman. So they gave him 2 errors. And the Rays come out of that with 2 unearned runs and lead 4-0.
You know, the Astros had the fewest errors in Major League Baseball coming into this series, and Bregman has at least 4 off the top of my head.
Yeah, has
in this series.
8 in his time.
Yeah,
with the Astros now. There's a leadoff walk.
Here, by the way, Dwayne, here's the one play that we did not talk about. Maile going deep out there to left field. Now watch Charlie Montoyo hustling, trying to get Beckham to run hard for fear of the play out there at second base in case they get Maile. And Tim Beckham never really picked it up coming around third, and you knew after that half inning that Charlie Montoyo down there at third base was none too happy with Beckham as he came around third base and did not heed the warning to get going in case there's a play at second. Maile gets thrown out, maybe your run doesn't count.
Here's Altuve hitting one deep to left, and that one is gone, and on one swing of the bat, it becomes a 2-run game. Altuve hitting his 21st. Altuve, a home run to left. Rays have done a good job stopping him through the first couple games of this series, but he lifts this one out of here.
First at bat, Altuve chased a slider out of the strike zone for strike 3, and he fired his helmet down and his bat, his equipment. He was livid with himself, and you thought, you know what, he's going to do something in this game. You could see how bound and determined and mad at himself that he was. And he hammered that ball for a base hit, and it continues.
Correa comes right back with a base hit. A walk homer and a single to start the bottom of the 4th. You know, the other thing on the Maile double and Beckham trying to coast home, and of course the point of that is, if Maile's out at third before he crosses the plate, the run doesn't count. So not only does that represent a lack of effort, but it is a clear case of a lack of understanding of maybe even the rules of the game. You have to think that he would be unaware of that, which in and of itself is a little alarming. So you've got two things there that if you're the manager of this team, and in Charlie Montoyo's case, the third base coach who is exerting him to go, those are major concerns. Lack of effort and essentially ignorance of the game and the rules by which you can score a run.
Now the Rays in the lead here, but there have been 2 incidents in this game. If Souza Jr. gets doubled up, and if Maile gets thrown out at second before Beckham crosses, can you imagine? Well, Kevin Cash would turn that clubhouse into a parking lot, and deservedly so.
1-2 the count. Correa the runner at first. 2 runs home for Houston to make it 4-2. Yuli Gurriel at the plate. Back into right. Souza Jr. goes to the track and makes the catch. So that's the first out in the bottom of the 4th.
Astros getting some better swings here, second time through.
Boy, they have come out. You're exactly right. That leadoff walk to Bregman, and since then, they are swinging the bats. When Gonzalez takes a strike. A little tapper. Maile grabs it in foul territory. He's got a run in the second inning. Driven home on a ground ball by Souza Jr. Got a run on the double by Longoria, chasing home Dickerson in the third, and then 2 unorthodox runs in which it appeared in the top of the 4th that We weren't sure if the Rays were going to score them and whether the Astros cared if they did score them. And now the Astros back with 2 here in the bottom of the 4th to make it a 2-run game. Cut and a miss. Gonzalez out on strikes. 2 gone.
Just doesn't have a chance on that slider by Archer. He's got him to swing and miss at this. That ball starting up above the knees, around the thighs, breaking it right to the dirt. Gonzalez with the stare down out there on Chris Archer.
We got a lot going on here.
There is some stuff boiling around. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, you know, we've seen Chris Archer be very demonstrative when he strikes guys out. You know, and I think that obviously those are the kind of things that get around the league. And Gonzalez, that's the 2nd time that on a big swing and a miss, he's staring right through Chris Archer out there on the mound, see if he's going to do anything. I don't know what Gonzalez is going to do about it, but he certainly is interested to see the reaction of Chris Archer.
A ball and a strike. AJ Reed caught looking in the 3rd inning. Two and one. Archer with 4 strikeouts after the swinging strike 3 on Gonzalez on the slider. Three balls and a strike. Archer on the verge of a 20-pitch inning here. After the first 3 were very effective. There's a strike call. So a full count. He made 12 pitches in the first, 11 in the second, 13 in the third. He's averaged a little over 17 an inning. And now he's at 20 here in the 4th. Tap foul. So we'll do it again. Correa, who was breaking on that 2-out, 3-2 pitch, returns to first, and he'll be off again when Archer makes his next delivery to Reed. Upstairs, and he walks Reed. The 2 men on now with the catcher, Jason Castro, striding to the plate. Bailey pays Archer a visit. And this is the kind of situation here with an extended inning that not only affects this, but can affect how deep Archer can get into the game later unless he can close it out in a hurry here.
Yeah, that would be the key. You know, that's what, and he's not near it to that point that he was in his last start. But that's what happened in that Boston start. They were able to go just 5 innings because they ran that pitch count up. Still in okay shape, but he needs to make quick work here of Castro.
And he gets a swing and a miss to start him. Well, Archer in that start against Boston had 8 of 21 first pitch strikes. And that led to that high pitch count, 109 pitches in 5 innings. 12 of 17 so far today. One and one. By Castro on the fastball. Two and two. Now full count. Well, Archer, who made 36 pitches combined through the first 3 innings, has now made 27 pitches here in the 4th alone.
Now the leadoff walk did not help, and then some hard hit balls. It's been an extended inning, and now both base runners will be off with this pitch, and it better be his best pitch of the inning.
Ball, base hit into center. Correa scores. Reed goes to third. And the Astros played another run to make it 4-3. So that 4-0 lead going away here in the 4th. It's down to a 1-run lead now.
Well, it was a breaking ball. Stayed right out over the plate. Jason Castro follows it into the zone, hammers it right back up the middle with everybody running. The run's going to score easily. Reed's going to get to third easily. And the Astros, you know what, the way that Chris Archer was throwing early in this game, the way that he has dominated this lineup, you're saying a 4-0 lead, the Rays are going to coast to victory. And just that quickly, it's now 4-3.
And first and third. Jake Marisnick up here. And a fastball is wide. He hit Marisnick after setting him up for a strikeout. They got Springer on a fielder's choice to end the third, but trouble in the 4th and a big cut and miss. 1-1. It has been a 30-pitch inning here in the 4th. Two balls and a strike. Two and two. Marisnick fouling a fastball away. Boy, what was a very good pitch count has just gone away. And this is the 3rd consecutive full count he's had. The 7, 8, and 9 hitters he's gone 3-2 on. And that is strike 3 call He gets him looking, leaving 2 men aboard. But Houston comes up with 3 in the 4th. This one puts an end to an 8-hitter inning, and it's 4-3 Rays. It's a 4-3 game on to the 5th. Don't miss your chance to fly high like Kevin Kiermaier with the Superhero Cape Sox Sunday, September 4th, when the Rays battle the Blue Jays. Youngsters 14 and under receive their very own pair of Superhero Cape Sox, presented by Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital while supplies last. Call 888-FAN-RAYS or visit RaysBaseball.com. Top of the order, Corey Dickerson. He doubled and scored in the 3rd. 1-0 the count. One. 1-2.
Well, Doug Fister and this Houston Astro team give it a shot of life. The prospects weren't looking real good, down 4 runs. And boy, did they answer in a big way, and now we're right back to a ball game. The Rays are going to have to continue to push offensively. Maybe one of those days. That man got it started right there, a 2-run homer to cut it in half. Last half inning.
Well, he has been the catalyst on this Houston team. Pitch thrown into the dirt, bouncing away. Altuve leading the charge, and he's doing that again today. And he started to do it defensively on that ball that Souza hit in the top of the 4th. Trying to play some heads-up baseball, and then coming right in and belting a 2-run home run on the first pitch he saw in the bottom of the 4th inning after Bregman had walked. Foul ball. We'll see it again. 3-2. Well, how about this? All the AL MVP candidates, and you know, Betts, Ortiz, Machado, depending on where the Orioles wind up, Encarnacion and Altuve. It seems that in many ways the driving force here in this Houston club as it tries to stay alive in the race. They come in 2 games back in the wild card race in the AL West. They're running 7.5 back of Texas, but that wild card race could tighten up and be very interesting.
Well, look how much ground they've gained. They've won 7 of their last 8 games. Corey Dickerson earning a walk there. It's a nice start here for the Rays in the top of the 5th as they look to answer. But boy, look how tight. I mean, you've got, how about the Yankees with that infusion of youth? They've been able to close the gap. Seattle sits there, 6 teams within 2.5 games.
It's Kevin Kiermaier.
Well,
Look out. There's a foul ball back. Longoria on deck. He was bailing as that ball fouled toward the on deck circle. He was headed for cover.
He's like, hey, listen, the field is out that way. A good line drive out that way would be good. You think you're safe in those on deck circles? Not always.
It's popped up. Correa, the shortstop, who was on the right side of second, moves back to his normal spot and makes the catch. So that's the first out here in the 5th. Here's Evan Longoria. Evan has already doubled in a run today, 1 for 2, and the pitch is a strike. Davinsky up. We saw him at the end of the game last night, and he was very impressive. There's a base hit into left center field. Dickerson advances to second, and the Rays come back and threaten here in the 5th. So the Houston club down 4-0 at one point, back in the game at 4-3, and that bullpen busy in the 5th here behind Fister.
Yeah, and the reason for that, it's not because the Rays are having a big inning or had a big inning early and he's settled down. They have been getting to him, you know, just about each and every inning. First inning, nothing. Scored a run in the 2nd, run in the 3rd, 2 in the 4th. Are threatening here again in the 5th. They just continue to push him, and he has not been able to come up with an answer consistently enough in this lineup. So he's running out of time.
Well, you see his pitch count up to 94.
He's trying to figure out a way to get a ground ball double play, and A.J. Hinch I don't think is going to give him that chance.
No, A.J. Hinch trying to figure out how to keep the Rays from scoring any more runs, and that's going to be it. On Fox Sports Sun, brought to you by Jeep. the official vehicles of summer, celebrating 75 summers of living 4x4ever. By FDOT, drive sober or get pulled over. And by your local Toyota dealers. Let's go places. Well, Houston changing pitchers. The Rays saw Chris Davinsky last night in an impressive outing on for the 37th time now. Brad Miller. Davinsky starts him with a fastball too high. So the Rays lead 4-3. Fister cannot win it. He leaves with 2 men on, which means he still could be the pitcher of record in a losing way if the Rays should put an inning together here, grab the lead, and hang on to it. Upstairs, and Miller laying off.
What a difference a few hours makes. Davinsky, when he came in the ball game last night, we saw the fastball, the changeup, the breaking ball, didn't miss a spot. I mean, he was just electric, right on the money with location. And here falling behind 3-0 and catching the corner to get it to 3-1. Either way, you're still in a tough spot here against Brad Miller.
Turns it loose on the fastball, misses. Big cut there, and it's 3-2.
Yeah, he got a little long with the 3-1 swing, which, you know, guys will have a tendency to do. They're so geared up for the 3-1 fastball, they get it. They want to do damage, and that swing lengthens just a little bit.
And strike 3 calls. Miller thought it was a little wide. Lynn says it caught the corner.
Yeah, and it is. It's a borderline pitch, but close enough to be called. You know, that's a pitch that can go either way. You leave it in the umpire's hands, sometimes they're going to go against you. He buries that right to the outside corner, right on the edge. And he found it, missed with the first 3. He comes back with 3 high quality and gets the strikeout.
This is Matt Duffy. Fastball by him. Duffy singled and scored in the 2nd inning, lined out his last time. Ground ball hits the mound, grabbed by Correa, throw to first in time. Rays threaten, do not score, and they continue to hold on to this lead. Fox Sports Sun brought to you by Jeep, the official vehicles of summer, celebrating 75 summers of living 4x forever. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And by your Southern Chevy dealers. Leading off here in the bottom of the 5th inning, George Springer. First pitch is a strike. Well, Chris Archer survived an 8-man 4th inning, giving up 3, but holding on to a 4-3 lead. 1-1 the count, facing the top of the order, Springer, Bergman, and Altuve. Chris made 34 pitches in the 4th after making 36 combined in the first 3, and there's a big cut at that high fastball. Foul right back.
George Springer, one of the bigger swings that you will see, and he really doesn't pull anything back. First pitch of an at-bat, 2 strikes. And the Astros know what they're going to get. They're going to get some power up there in the leadoff spot. They're also going to get a lot of strikeouts too.
And a big cut and a miss. Didn't cut down there.
I mean, how about that? That is the modern day 2-strike approach. And George Springer, just watch the violence in this swing. I mean, the front hip's gone, the head's gone, everything's leaking. And he's trying to hit that ball to Katie.
Well, I'll tell you something. Major League, and that's the right direction, too.
Yeah, that's why I've been there.
Left field is on the west side. I know you made that.
I remember you last night saying that through there it was the west, pointing west.
Yep. You've got a great sense of direction.
No, I don't, actually. You helped me out last night and made that easy for me.
Oh. And he's strong enough, he might hit one out there. Pitch down to Bregman. It's now 1-1. So Archer with the lead. Six strikeouts in the game. Pitch is up. So all 4 of the runs for the Rays came against Pfister, so he's out of the game, and if he's going to figure in this one, can only lose it. 4 runs in 3 1/3, 7 hits, 2 and 2. Rays had a threat to add to their lead in the top of the inning, but Davinsky got Miller and Duffy, leaving 2 men on. Bregman fouls it away. And Archer working here in the 5th. Trying to put the 4th behind him and get on with things as he looks for his 8th win of the year. Coming in 7 and 17. Here's a fly ball. Center field. Kiermaier a bit toward left center, and he makes the catch. So Bregman is out number 2. Jose Altuve got Houston on the board with a 2-run home run in the 4th. His 21st home run of the year. Normally, if you had a guy who hit 100 points different road and home, you'd go, well, if he hits on the road the way he does, you go, well, maybe we can't play him at home. The only problem is he's hitting .411 on the road and in the low 300s at home, and you saw how dangerous he can be. But out there on the first pitch, nicely done. 1, 2, 3 for Archer. That's just what he needed. Rays got a run in the second inning and added another one in the third when Evan Longoria's double chased home Corey Dickerson. And then two more in the fourth inning. Souza's ground ball got one home, and then a little confusion on this one. Luke Maile back into the corner scored Beckham. Beckham at that point made it 4-0. But a walk and a home run by Altuve in the fourth made it 4-2. Castro drove in a run in the bottom of the fourth as well to make it 4-3. So as we go to the sixth, it's Nick Franklin leading off, and he takes the 1-0 pitch and pops it up on the right side for Altuve. The Rays facing Chris Davinsky, who comes on in relief of Doug Fister. And Davinsky, after falling behind Miller, came back, struck him out, and got Duffy on the ground ball. So the Rays left 2 on, and that threat went away. Franklin has popped out. Here's Steven Souza Jr. Pitch is a strike. Behind in the count. Souza officially 0 for 2. Now 2 balls, 2 strikes. Cut to miss.
I'll tell you, this guy has shown some weapons. He's got 3 legitimate pitches to be able to go out and get a strikeout with. And here, the off-speed, the changeup, and he is putting that in a great spot. Good arm speed on that pitch, great location on that pitch, good action and finish to it. Breaking ball too, the fastball's firm. This is one of the top bullpens in the game.
Tim Beckham, he takes a strike. Beckham is grounded to third and reached on Bregman's error down at third. Grounds it right back. 0-2. Charged by the shortstop Correa. The throw scooped at first, and Reed apparently keeps his foot on the bag. Beckham is the third out here in the sixth, and Kevin Cass wants to get a video reading on that.
Boy, the yank of the throw, and yep, that foot stayed on there as the ball went into the glove of Reed. Boy, that was a heck of a sprawling scoop.
So it's 3 up, 3 down. Bottom of the sixth coming, and the Rays are up by a run. one-run ball game. 4-3 Rays lead. The cold hard facts today brought to you by Clean Crisp Coors Light. And most runs batted in as a shortstop here in Houston in a single season. Miguel Tejada with 86. And this young man, Carlos Correa, running second to him. He's leading off in the bottom of the sixth with a 1-0 count. Archer misses again, 2-0. Orioles will be next, and then Gonzalez. 2-1. Fouled into the screen. 3-2. Six strikeouts today for Chris Archer. He has 198 on the year. Ground ball, base hit to the left of Duffy and into left center where Dickerson makes the pickup. With the leadoff man on, here's our leadoff man, Todd Callis. Todd?
Going, I'm out of the Budweiser patio, which is not too far from one of the unique areas in all of baseball, Towles Hill here in center field at Minute Maid Park. This will be the final game the Rays play with Towles Hill in action. You mentioned earlier in the series was brought over former President Tal Smith, Crosley Field idea. The foul pole's in play, just like at the old Yankee Stadium and the old Tiger Stadium. Kevin Kiermaier desperately would love to make a play up on Towles Hill at some point before this game's over, because the Rays will not be back here with this in play. Next year, the center field fence will move in from 436 to 409, and this little party area will extend. But the fences will be closer, and no more Towles Hill after today for the Rays. Guys, back to you.
All right, thank you. It'll be very interesting to see how that affects play here because of the depth of that. If it's going to be 409, that's a significant decrease in the dimension to center field. And so from a pitching point of view, particularly with it being 315 down the line and left, this thing could get really cozy even at 409 out there in center.
Well, you know what? The party's going to get bigger, though.
The party will be bigger.
The party deck's coming in. The hill is gone. The foul pole is gone.
Tap back to the mound. Archer will take it to first, and up to second base goes Correa.
But that will be interesting, because look at left center. 315 on the line, 362, and then to 409. You see where the 404 is, so it's going to have to cut across around there.
Yeah.
You're going to cut off that whole. It'll be interesting. There's no doubt about that. I'm sure that they've thought about that.
Well, we'll see. I mean,
tell,
you would anticipate there'd be more runs scored here.
409 is still a pretty decent poke.
It is.
But with those gaps, it tightens that. You know, there's a trickle effect.
Big cut and a miss by Gonzalez. Well, pitchers might not have that same deep advantage, but the hitter's not going to mind at all. Well, Gonzalez 0 for 2 today. He came in 4 of 8 in other matchups against Archer. And this one is fouled off his foot.
right off the top of that foot, and he hammered that pitch straight down. That's not going away anytime soon.
A.J. Hinch very interested looking on here with Gonzalez, who's been a guy, as we mentioned it earlier, not only does he give them some pop, but he's in left field in this game. He's played all over the infield at first, second, short, and third at one time or another. Does the best he can do to walk that off. And that's strike 3 call. So Gonzalez called out on strikes. Gonzalez wanted to stick around and see another pitch. Not happy with that one called a strike.
Not happy with anybody right now.
A.J. Reed. Reed drew a big walk that extended the 4th inning in front of Castro driving in a run to make it a 1-run contest. And he made a nice play on the ball hit by Duffy back in the 5th. On the throw over to him at first. And Beckham's, for that matter. And the throw over from third in the top half of this inning. Runner at second with 2 outs. 2 balls and a strike to count. Two. The count even. And a cut and a miss. Reed out on strikes, back-to-back strikeouts. Archer's 200th strikeout of the year, 8th in this game. Into the 7th inning from Houston, the Rays leading the Astros. Logan Forsythe here in bobblehead form, available to all fans when the Rays take on the Blue Jays Saturday, September 3rd. So make sure to grab your fan vote favorite bobblehead, presented by GTE Financial. Call 888-FAN-RAYS or visit RaysBaseball.com. Rays up. Logan getting the day off out of the leadoff spot. So Luke Mailey's going to begin the 7th and then back around to the top of the order where Corey Dickerson is hitting today. Pitch is a strike to Mailey. Dickerson and then Kiermaier. 0-2. Chris Davinsky came into the game last night and was very impressive. It's a fly ball right center. Springer under it to make the catch. And Davinsky has retired the first 6 he has faced in this game.
Yeah, well, that's what A.J. Hinch has been able to get out of Davinsky. He pitches in last night's ball game, comes in here. He's getting some length out of him already, 2 innings in. But much like last night, you know, his first 3 pitches here this afternoon, not where he wanted them, didn't look at all like the guy we saw last night. But all of a sudden, the next 3 were, and he hasn't stopped since. 3 very good put-away type pitches. And the location's been pretty good, too.
The fastball for a strike to Dickerson. Lifted into left center field. Will be caught by Gonzalez. And the Rays on 5 pitches have 2 up and 2 down. And now Kevin Kiermaier. Bounces it foul. Rounding into the stands for a strike. Kevin 0 for 3. Popped to the shortstop his last time. One. Well, you know, you hear those deals about a Class A pitcher being thrown in to a deal, and that's what Davinsky was when Houston got him from the White Sox. In fact, he was a player to be named later from the Class A level. Base hit into right for Kiermaier, and the Rays have their first hit against Davinsky. Houston got him from the White Sox in the Brett Myers deal, and that was back in the middle of 2012. And he was a player to be named later and went into their system and worked his way up. There he is, 25 years old, and impressive here the last couple nights and today. Moved to first. Kiermaier back in. First, Kiermaier back in. Want to know the count to Evan Longoria, who is 2 for 3, including an RBI double that came in the 3rd. 2-0.
Well, interesting with that 2-out hit by Kevin Kiermaier. All of a sudden, you've got speed aboard. You've got a guy that's starting to nibble now a little bit against Longoria, which obviously works into Evans. Certainly an advantage. You sit 2-0, 2-1, 3-1.
There goes Kiermaier. Pitch is a strike, and he's in with a stolen base. And he picked the off-speed pitch to run on, as it turned out. Kiermaier with his 13th stolen base of the year.
Yeah, and a good time to go here, too. A good jump. You're right, he gets the off-speed pitch to deal with. The Rays' offense been a little bit stagnant here the last few innings. And so all of a sudden, Kevin Cash, they've got Kiermaier on the move now in scoring position for the red-hot Evan Longoria.
Evan fouled it back. Yeah, in fact, it almost seemed as if after the Rays got that 4-0 lead and you saw Houston come back with 3, and the way things started to wobble a little bit, it was almost as if Houston had grabbed the lead, because they appeared to perhaps, if not dead in the water, on their way there. And they came roaring right back. And it's a 1-run game. The Rays still lead. And trying to take advantage of a 2-out opportunity in the 7th inning. It's Brad Miller on deck. Longoria lifts it into right center field. Marisnik still going back in front of the wall, out by the bullpen on the track, making the catch. And the Rays leave a man at second, holding a 4-3 lead. Four to 3. Evan Longoria, a couple of hits, including a double and a base hit. Going to run with his double in the 3rd. Rays scored single markers 2nd and 3rd, added 200 runs in the 4th, and Houston with a 3-run 4th to make it a 1-run game. It's been that way since. And Chris Archer with a couple strikeouts in the 6th inning, getting him to the 200 mark this year. His 2nd consecutive 200 strikeout season, joining David Price and James Shields as other Rays pitchers to do that.
Well, Chris Archer, had the first 3 innings throwing the ball very well. He was staked to a 4-0 lead, but then the Astros would come charging back. Does have the 8 strikeouts, did get to the 200 level. The most important thing here this afternoon is salvage a victory somehow and get out of this series with a win heading to Boston. And right now, A close 4-3 ball game, closing in on 100 pitches, and going to start out facing the bottom of the Astro lineup here to begin the 7th.
He's made 98 pitches through 6. Coming in 7 and 17. So an important inning for him here to hold them and give the Rays a chance to add to this 1-run lead going into the late stages. 17 losses by Archer, the most of any pitcher through the end of August since all the way back in 2003 when Mike Maroth, pitching for the Tigers, the lefty, had 19. And Jeremy Bonderman, the right-hander, had 18 through the 31st of August. Here's Jason Castro. The pitch is foul back, strike 1. And the most losses for the Rays in a single season was in 2002. Tanyon Sturtz lost 18 that year. And Chris Archer 17 right now. Sturtz was 4 and 18 in 2002. A 2-strike count to Castro. Archer 7 and 17 right now. A ball, 2 strikes. Castro got the base hit that trimmed the Rays' lead to 1. There's a swing and a miss to open the bottom of the 7th. The 9th strikeout for Archer.
Well, he's going to go with that slider down and in. This one a lot of depth. That's when you know that that pitch is on time and on the money, when he's able to get depth with it.
Pinch hitter presented by Pinch-A-Penny coming up here is Tony Kemp. Will come on to bat for Marisnick. Marisnick 0 for 1, a strikeout. He had been hit by a pitch. Kemp takes the pitch upstairs. Archer coming in 3 and 2 against Houston with a 131 earned run average in his career, holding them to a 145 batting average. Fly ball to left for Dickerson. Four hits today and a walk allowed by Archer. To go with the 9 strikeouts. Back around to the top of the order. Erasmo Ramirez in the bullpen. You know, Major League Baseball is on a pace to break the season strikeout record for the 9th consecutive season. Pitch is down, and that seems to be the trend in this game. And two teams that certainly are in lockstep with that trend, the Astros and the Rays. 1-1 here on Springer. Big cut. Dribble back foul. So Springer has hit the ball on the ground twice, struck out in the 5th. Did he go? He did not on the appeal. Mark Rippinger says he held up.
No, able to recognize that in time. That ball's going to be well off the plate. He starts to go, and that really could have gone either way. That was right out there, and he's holding it back there, but it went further than that.
We're going to see still another 2-2 pitch here. Archer 2 starts ago had 9 strikeouts against San Diego, 9 the start before that against the Yankees. Last time 6 against Boston. He has 9 today. And a big cut. Well, there's that 2-strike swing. Still 2-2.
Went down to a knee. An all or nothing type guy. He hits a 2-2 heater.
Archer twice this year has struck out 12 in a game. One 11 strikeout game and a couple 10s and a near miss right there.
Able to hold up once again, or at least that's the way it's being called, and that's another one that's right out there, real close.
Those are 2 very close calls. And the count is full. Big cut, a foul ball. Look at that, down to one knee. Swinging for the downs.
And you see where Chris Archer's working him. There was one pitch that found the middle of the plate. The rest are down and away and off the plate. You know that George Springer wants to turn and burn here. You know that he wants to get something into left field, left center for power. So you pitch him out there and you pitch him down in order to force him to go to the big part of the field, which is the right way to go about it here late in the game.
Fouled out of play. A 9-pitch at bat to this point. And he finally gets him with pitch number 10. He strikes him out for strikeout number 10. Springer and Archer exchanging words and getting in between Nick Lins. Now Springer and Archer go 10 pitches in that matchup and then exchange words. Cooler heads prevail, and here's the look. And a swing and a miss. We're through 7. The Rays still lead by a run. All right, thank you very much. Brad Miller leads off here in the 8th inning, with the Rays holding a 4-3 lead. Archer getting his 10th strikeout, 2 strikeouts in the 7th. And here's Miller, base hit past the diving Bregman. And he's aboard for the first time. He's facing Michael Felice, the new pitcher. Well, here's the end of the 7th inning and that exchange between Springer and Archer.
Well, and you're going to see George Springer and read his lips, and he was saying, hey, act like you've struck somebody out before. George was like, I'm not.
Good pitch wide here to Duffy.
Well, you know what? We saw it earlier with Marwin Gonzalez. I mean, and more than once on swings and misses, just staring. I think this is a team, you watch video, you see Chris Archer get animated after strikeouts, and they wanted no part of it. Going to be hard to hold him down. He's going to get his strikeouts, especially against a lineup that swings like this team does, but you could see that they weren't real happy with what they had seen on tape, what they had seen during the game, and finally it boils over at the end, and George Springer said something to him, and fortunately it ended there.
Tony Kemp stays on to play center after pinch hitting for Marisnik. Ball and a strike to count to Duffy, and there's a shot deep into left field. That ball is out of here. Home run for Matt Duffy. Duffy belts a 2-run homer here in the 8th to give the Rays a little breathing room. And the Rays shortstop gets his first home run in a Rays uniform. We did 4 in San Francisco, and here's number 1 for the Rays.
Well, he gets a flat fastball, and the swing was definitive. I mean, he was aggressive. His eyes lit up. He turned it loose right there. And, boy, that's pretty. Great trajectory. Step and fire. Big for the game, too. You take that lead. You've doubled them up now.
So the lead goes from 1 to 3. 6-3 ball game. Franklin lifts the fly ball into left. And that's the first out. Well, Duffy, to this point, had 1 extra base hit since coming to the Rays. That a double. And he got into that one. 385 feet to left center field. Well, Steven Souza Jr. There's a line shot. It's grabbed by Bregman. Boy, Souza tattooed that one, and Bregman, with that quick reaction down there at third base, made the catch.
That's the second time we've seen Bregman. We saw him do it against Longoria earlier in the series, taking away a line drive going up the line. We've seen the bad from Bregman, and we've seen some awfully good from Bregman too here in this 3-game series, and I guess that's what you would expect for someone a year out of college.
Tim Beckham, officially 0 for 3 on the day. He did reach on the error with Bregman and scored in the 4th inning. Two and 0. The Rays now with 10 hits, 6 runs. Three and 0. Houston got 2 2/3 excellent innings out of Davinsky. Their starter, Doug Fister, worked 4 1/3. Gave up 4 runs. Davinsky nothing. Just 1 hit. And now the Rays have 2 off Phillies. Chopper on the infield and a barehanded attempt. Altuve was up the middle and a little bit to the shortstop side of the bag. Had to come over and in on the move trying to barehand it. And Beckham has an infield hit.
Well, he put himself in a position to make a play, but it's a do or die type play. You see where he's at, how far he's got to go. He gets there. You're trying to barehand that on the move and throw all in one motion. Very difficult play to be made, and didn't happen.
Now Brent Strom, the pitching coach, heads to the mound. Luke Maile is due up for the Rays. Rays have the 2-run home run off the bat of Matt Duffy. Now a 2-out single by Beckham. Tony Sipp, the veteran lefty, up in the bullpen. So here's Maile. He has a 1-for-3 day going. Fastball at 97 missed, 1-0. One. Baltimore shut out the Yankees 5-0. The Blue Jays beat Minnesota 9-6. It's 2-1. Ground ball, that's got a chance to go through, denied by Correa. Throw to first, not going to be in time. Great effort. The Rays are going to have men at first and second. Correa, great stop, and got rid of that one to make a play at first, but Maile is safely in there with his second hit.
Luke Maile's speed. They're going to get him. Well, hits his ball sharply. Correa, great backhanded dive. That takes him out into the hole a little bit, and now you're throwing from your knee. Still a good throw. Got enough on it. Nothing else he could have done.
So first and second now. The Rays 4 hits in the 8th, and that's going to be it for Phillies. Fox Sports Sun brought to you by Jeep, the official vehicles of summer. Celebrating 75 summers of living, 4x forever. By Kubota. For more information, go to FloridaKubotaDealers.com. And by your Gulf Coast Honda dealers. Well, the Rays have added a couple runs here in the 8th inning. They've extended their lead from 1 to 3, and now they're going to see Tony Sipp with 2 men on and 2 men out, 2 runs home in the 8th. It'll be Sipp against Dickerson.
Well, the lefty specialist. You saw 48 games, but just over 34 innings of work. It's a hitter here, a hitter there.
Pitch is outside. Dickerson in his career 1 out of 2 against Sipp. That hit a home run. And a shot deep into right center, and this one will get out of here. Home run off a 1-0 pitch. Dickerson unloads a 3-run blast for the Rays left fielder, and now it's a big inning for the Rays. Second home run of the inning. Duffy, a 2-run shot, a 3-run blast by Dickerson, and the Rays extend their lead to 9-3.
Corey Dickerson put in the leadoff spot because of the way that he's been swinging the bat. He comes here, Tony Sipp, and he is expecting that breaking ball. That's a hanger. It was flat, it was rolling. Dickerson got a great look at it and absolutely destroyed it. And the facing of that upper deck out there in right center. That's a poke.
Here's Kevin Kiermaier. And he takes the ball, so the Rays send the 8th man to the plate here in the 8th. Hitting a pair of home runs and a capper there by Dickerson. Matt Duffy got him started in the inning with a 2-run homer. So 4 runs charged to Felice and 1 to Sipp. 2-1. Now 3-1 count. Nine runs, 13 hits for the Rays. A foul ball back. A full count. Kiermaier draws a walk. So the Rays continue the 8th. Tomorrow on Rays Live, the pregame show presented by your Gulf Coast Honda dealers. We'll hear from Matt Andriese, who will be making the start for the Rays to open the series at Fenway against Rick Porcello. And Orestes will break down Mookie Betts, who has been nothing short of sensational for the Red Sox. Evan Longoria takes the pitch down. 430 feet, they're saying, on the home run struck by Corey Dickerson. Uh, 2-0. Evan drove in the second run of the day for the Rays with his third inning double. 2-1. Rays will have 2 night games and a day game in Boston, with Andriese, Odorizzi, and Smiley scheduled to do the pitching for the Rays. Down to third. That's a foul ball. Diving attempt by Bregman, but just foul. Taking the count to 2-2.
Able to be right over there on the line. You can see him mouthing to Carlos Correa barely. I'm not talking to. Wonder if he's talking about the ball being foul or him being able to come up with it. This is close. Close to the line. I think he meant. Could have meant both.
Yes, he could have. Now the 2-2. Evan fouls it into the screen. Miller singled, Duffy homered. Then with 2 outs, Beckham reached on a base hit. Maley singled, and Dickerson hit the home run off Tony Sipp. Sipp has walked Kiermaier, and now he's 2-2 to Evan Longoria. Liner into left. There's a base hit. Kiermaier makes an aggressive turn but holds at second. That gives Longoria 3 hits today, and he is 3 for 5. So the Rays have batted around. The third straight hitter to reach base on Sipp. And Brad Miller, who opened this inning with a base hit, will bat again. Ball, no strikes. Well, the Rays had been swept only once by Houston, and that was back in June of 2003 in this ballpark in a 3-game sweep, and they had dropped the first 2 games of this series. They're trying to put some significant distance between themselves and the Astros right now. Building a 9-3 lead in the top of the 8th. Two and 1. Houston starting the day 7.5 back of Texas in the West, and right now banking their hopes on the wild card, starting 2 back in that race. Back to the mound. Sipp with the underhanded toss. The Rays are out in the 8th, but they send 10 men to the plate and have a big inning. A 2-run home run by Matt Duffy and a 3-run home run by Corey Dickerson, capping the inning. Rays lead 9-3. lead, moving into the bottom of the 8th inning. So Chris Archer, who worked 7, looking for his 8th win of the year.
Yeah, and for Chris Archer, it was a very good start and a very good finish. In the middle, it got a little dicey as a 4-0 lead went to 4-3. But outside of that, ends up going 7 innings, gives up the 4 hits, 3 runs. Has a confrontation there with George Springer. But gets into the double digits in strikeouts and is in line to pick up that win.
All in good fun. Steve Geltz, the new pitcher. Geltz just rejoining the Rays today for the 3rd time. He's facing Bregman, who shoots one down the left field line, and that is a foul ball into the corner. Well, Geltz just back from AAA Durham, and as you recall, in these other stints, he had been victimized by 10 home runs in 20 innings and 8 over his last 10 2/3 innings, and went back to Durham. "29 games for Durham at a .331 earned run average. 2 balls and a strike. Into center field. Kiermaier will have to play it on a hop. So Bregman has a leadoff single. The 5th hit for Houston.
Kevin Kiermaier feels like he should be able to get to everything in the air approaching center field. He takes a lot of pride in his defense, loves the highlight reel play, loves to show off the wheels. But no chance at that one.
Jose Altuve hit the 2-run home run in the 4th inning. Breaking ball is too high. Skies it. Popper short left. Duffy's out there tracking it from shortstop and makes the catch. That's the first out. Well, Archer got 2 and beyond the 200 strikeout level today. 10 strikeouts in this game. 202 for the year. Made 114 pitches. And in contrast to just the 8 first pitch strikes and 21 hitters against Boston, he had 19 first pitch strikes today in facing 28 hitters. Correa takes a pitch upstairs, 1-0. Foul ball takes the count even. Correa with his 2 hits today and a run scored. His average right now at 276. Houston wondering if this core of young talent is enough to get them into the postseason.
Well, they've closed ground, gained ground in the wild card, tied now for 2nd place in the AL West. And we saw that graphic before where you had basically 5 teams that were within 2.5 games of the second wild card. I don't know, when you get a young, enthusiastic bunch playing with a lot of emotion, you can get on some good runs.
And sometimes they can do things they don't know they can do. Or they'll do things that maybe some people think they shouldn't. They're not even aware of that.
Yeah.
They'll just keep doing it.
No, as the collective, you think about the youth around this, this team. I mean, Bregman just out of college, Altuve, Correa's just 21 years old. George Springer, across the board, they've got youth. They've got a lockdown, a very good bullpen. And if their starters can give them, some innings, some quality innings, they can make things interesting. But, you could say that about a lot of teams. There's no real standout, dominant, can't-miss American League team. There's some good ones, no question about it. But they also have their flaws and are capable of losing 5 in a row as they are of winning 5 in a row.
And you know what could make a big difference is their Cy Young Award winner.
Yeah.
Keuchel came into last night's game 8-12, pitched 7 innings of 2-run baseball. And if he can consistently do that for the next month, that's a major lift for them. That would be a stabilizing force in their rotation. Pfister struggled today. He's a veteran who had given them 12 wins in 25 starts. Not his day today. It's a ball and 2 strikes. In fact, they're really going to need Keuchel to continue to do that. When you look at the makeup of their rotation, they absolutely need him to do that. McHugh has had an up and down season, earned an average over 5. We saw Fires here the other night. So they're going to have to get some innings. Liner and a base hit into left center. Down to second base goes Bregman. Gurriel is aboard with his first hit. He's 1 for 4 today. 2 men on, 2 men out against Geltz. Gonzalez twice today struck out. It was against Archer. He misses the fastball. Chopper foul. An 0-2 count. Rays about hit Houston 14-6 and lead 9-3. Steve Geltz in relief of Chris Archer has allowed 2 hits. So 1-2 count to Marwin Gonzalez. Two and two. Base hit into right, charged by Souza Jr. Throw will come to the plate, not in time. Bregman scores. 9-4. Base hit by Gonzalez, driving in the run. Uriel goes up to second and stops there.
A rough inning here right now for Steve Geltz. Getting up there in pitches. This fastball up in the zone above the belt, but Gonzalez able to get on top of it, get the barrel out, get it into right field.
Jim Hickey heads to the mound here to hold a conference. So 21 pitches so far here as Geltz tries to get through the 8th. And A.J. Reed will be the hitter. Reed out of the University of Kentucky. And he swings through it. A couple of strikeouts and a walk for Reed. The Golden Spikes Award winner in 2014. Oh, 2. Alex Colomé up in the Rays bullpen.
Like for this game to be such where he would have the day off.
Well, you would hope so, especially going into Boston. This one up and off the mid of Maley. Head over to second and third. Move Gonzalez and Gurriel.
On second thought, let's get it going, Colomé. Yeah. This inning has not turned out like the Rays would have hoped, getting Steve Geltz back up into the mix here. A run on the board, that fastball way up and out of the zone. Put runners at second and third now.
Well, that tells you a lot right there, that shot. Swing and a miss. That takes care of Reed, leaving men at second and third. 9-4 Rays. On TV, you can stream them live on your mobile device with the all-new Fox Sports Go app. Download the app and take Fox Sports Sun and Rays baseball with you wherever you go. So Bark in the Park day, and the Rays have a 9-4 lead headed into the 9th inning. We had a couple of home runs in the 8th inning, one by Matt Duffy, and he set the lead off the 9th. His second hit of the day, and singled and scored in the second, and belted his first Rays home run. Came on a 1-1 pitch in the 8th inning. Brad Peacock is going to be the new pitcher, the 5th of the day for Houston. And the pitch, Duffy shoots it up the right side, foul. Nick Franklin will be next, and then Steven Souza Jr. Peacock just recently recalled from their AAA affiliate in Fresno. Breaking ball, and that's fouled up the right side. Rays got 4 off the starter Doug Fister. In 4 1/3. Davinsky worked 2 2/3 scoreless. Feliz gave up 4 runs in 2/3, and Sip charged with a run in a 1/3 of an inning. Fly ball lifted into center. Kemp was out there making the catch on that one. Rays sent 10 men to the plate in the 8th when they scored 5. Trying to put some separation here between themselves and the Astros. Nick Franklin. Pitch is high. 1-0. There's a drive back into right field. That has some carry. Springer will turn around and watch this one sail out. Nick Franklin has connected for his 3rd hit of the day, his 5th home run of the year, and the Rays hit double figures with 10 runs. They lead Houston 10-4.
Well, Nick Franklin, you know, he just continues to have that sense of that confidence, that aura around him. Just like, hey, listen, I'm going to get it done. Look at that changeup. You know, he had popped the changeup up earlier in the game, and he does a much better job there of staying back, that weight transfer, a little shifty through the hips, and drive that ball out to right field.
Steven Souza Jr. 1 ball, no strikes. And a foul back out of play. It's 1-1.
You know, we didn't get very many shots. Bark in the Park day, and we didn't get very many shots of, you know, the people with their dogs.
Yep.
Where were we last time where there was just a lot of stuff happening out there that shouldn't? But they seem to be well behaved here in Houston.
Yeah.
Better, good, better owners here.
Well, you know, and owners and training, you know. Obedience school.
Yeah, where was that the last time?
Yeah, we're going to have to consult the rest of our crew on that, because I'm drawing a blank on that one.
I'm hearing from Callis. He's saying Oakland.
Maybe that's why I'm drawing a blank. I wasn't there.
Yeah, see, no, but you were.
But that doesn't
no, he's
preclude me from drawing a blank whether I'm there or
not. No, I get it.
Time to time.
I get it, but no, it was you and I, because there was that one,
a couple of years ago, you're saying?
No, there was one earlier this year where what was showing up on the Jumbotron, the big scoreboard in between innings, were some unmentionables.
There's Tim Beckham.
We even mentioned the potential of a felony. There was
1 strike to count.
You remember that day?
You know,
I remember
when
I said that I got that
remember
look
we're
from
talking
you.
about felonies. You remember that day. Strike 2, 0-2 now. Not sure that I do.
Well, that's smart of you.
No comment. Home run here by Franklin. 2 strikes to count on Beckham. Fouls it back. Eddie Romero throwing in the Rays bullpen. So we have 15 Rays hits, 10 runs. A little roller. Bregman from third makes the throw to first. Beckham is out of there. The Rays add a run on the Franklin home run. 10-4 Rays. Over and out. Lead this game. We go to the bottom of the 9th inning. They've out-hit Houston 15-7. Eddie Romero is going to be the new pitcher for the Rays, the 3rd pitcher of the day. And a 1-2-3 inning would be good, not only for the Rays, but for us up here, too.
For our discussion. And you know what? It was clarified in between innings that it was in Oakland, which actually makes some sense.
Yeah. That's why I don't remember it, because I wasn't there.
You were not there. Todd still will not comment on anything that I had to say.
Yeah.
He refused comment through his attorney. It was probably a smart move.
But he did come in with visual evidence.
Oh, he had the
that
computer.
apparently he stored in his computer.
Yep. Bark in the Park. He had the date. He showed it to me.
That's a little troubling. He
actually was able to come up with like quotes that I had said that half inning, which, you know.
Teoscar Hernandez will pinch hit here in the 9th inning, hitting for Castro.
What do you think about dog names? Anything?
Oh.
Yeah, you've got.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
Well, you know, the traditional ones, you know, were kind of fun names, but sometimes people get very personal with the names of dogs.
Well, I've had 3 female Rotties, and we had Lexi, who is the gold standard. She's Lexi Marie, and they all had to have the middle name Marie too. Okay. Lexi Marie, and then Libby Marie, and then Lizzie Marie. Those were the dog names. But we had a dog growing up. It was a guard dog for my dad's business.
Yep.
It was a Doberman Pinscher, the meanest dog that I've ever come across in my life. Yep. I mean, this dog, like when you would hear this dog's name is loose, it was panic. It was you're going to be mauled. This dog took no prisoners.
The town would.
People knew him. and they knew him by name. And you know what his name was?
What?
Eric.
Eric.
His name was Eric.
Eric.
A
the
human,
dog.
a human name. A dog named Eric.
A dog named Eric. Apparently it was Eric the Fearful. Or no, he was
Eric the Red.
Eric the Fierce.
He was.
Yep.
The meanest dog. I mean,
Not like this. This is a great dog right there.
No, it was an oversized Doberman Pinscher.
Wow.
That was a true guard dog. You know, the chain link, the zip line. Was not a fan of people outside of my father.
Hernandez at first, he's drawn the walk. Kemp sitting for the first time. Just an aside.
I'm not
So,
gonna.
Eric,
I'm not gonna go there.
you're not.
I won't.
Well,
But I'm just,
everybody wants to know. I mean, that was a long time ago. You were a youngster.
I was.
Yeah. So Eric's not with us anymore.
No.
1-1 over a period of time.
Well, you were talking about there was a dog that we came across earlier today on the way into the ballpark, named Larry.
Yeah.
That's what got us talking about Eric.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, bark in the park, and you see some of the fans here coming in, and they'd have their dogs, and we got to meet a couple of them, and that's what got the memories back of you. Well, we had a dog named Eric.
Yeah. Well, it had a little, the little hat, the funny little hat.
Yep.
That Larry.
Runner at first. Down to third, this chopper. And it gets away. Hernandez will go to third. Springer is safely aboard. Boy, the Rays had an out right there, staring them in the face, and it gets away from them.
Yeah, maybe not have been able to turn two, but certainly, right, the leadoff runner, and Nick Franklin, none too happy right now with himself, understandably so. Here it is. Good feed there from Beckham. Boy, really good feed. He was trying to complete the double play before he secured the baseball. That's what happened right there. Beckham gets a nice hop, puts it right where he needs to. You can see Nick Franklin already starting to look towards first base before that ball was securely in the glove.
Yeah, not happy with himself out there.
Well, you know what? There started to become an emphasis and a focus now on some of the mistakes that the Rays have been making, whether it's on the base paths, whether it's in the field with a throw, a cutoff situation, not backing up a base, whatever it may be. It's started to become a little bit of a focus, and I think people are noticing that, and Kevin Cash and his his staff are starting to notice it themselves and saying, listen, we got to clean some things up. And, something like that doesn't help.
2 strikes to count on Bregman. So the leadoff walk to Hernandez. Kemp out on the fly ball, and now Springer reaching on that error. Erasmo Ramirez up in the bullpen. And Bregman is out on strikes.
That's the Enny Romero A+ slider. Able to get good depth from a high arm angle. And then watch this thing just take off down and in. That's a pretty thing.
Well, here is Jose Altuve, who hit a 2-run home run in the 4th. The pitch is a strike, and into second base goes Springer. For the score. And the fastball is wide. Archer 7, Geltz 1, and now Inny Romero. Cut to miss, 0-2. He's trying to close this one out, salvage a win in this 3-game series. Ground ball shortstop. Duffy throw right on the money, and this one is over. The Rays win it 10-4 in the 9th inning. No runs, a couple of men left on base, so the Rays come away with a victory. 10-15-1 for the Rays with 7 left. 4-7-2 with 8 men left for Houston. Chris Archer the winner. He is 8-17. Krister the losing pitcher